Summer in Formula One. It's time to take a break, relax, and reflect on the year so far. The perfect opportunity to wind back the clock and delve into what's made this season our season. 12 races run, 12 races won. Records broken, and the fastest pit stop to boot. This is 2023 so far. We began in Bahrain with the first true test of the RB19. Last year would be a tough act to follow. Would we still be on top?
Well, following the testing in Bahrain, it's always difficult to draw too many conclusions. You never really know what your opponents have got up their sleeve. It looks like Aston Martin have made a big step forward. Ferrari look, quick, potentially over a lap, but RB19 looks like it's a good step from the 18, taking all the strong characteristics that car showed.
But yeah, I felt good straight away in the car. Like the handling was good. It was definitely an improvement again compared to last year, and that's exactly what you want to see.
We had one of our best races of the year so far was in Bahrain, race 1.
Well, mate, that's the perfect start to 2023.
Yeah, very lovely that. Really good result. Thank you guys.
1-2 finishes are always incredibly difficult to achieve, and so to do it in the first race was a fantastic start.
Well done, Checo. It's a very strong team start to the season.
Yeah, great effort, guys. Very, very nice. Let's keep it up. It's a long season ahead.
I honestly think that Bahrain is still one of our strongest weekends, so we were really well prepared.
A few races later, we saw Checo retain his crown as a street specialist. Slow corners, fast straights, a recipe for success.
Baku is a place that it's very easy to make mistakes. Sprint format is very intense, Making sure that you have 2 good races without much of preparation, it's quite hard.
And of course, let's bring in our first upgrade of the year there. There was quite a high-risk strategy.
We were on pressure by Max, basically from lap 1 all the way through, and I remember it was like the gap, 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds all the way through.
I don't know what it is, but he seems to relish the street circuits, running up close to the barrier. He's definitely a bit of a street fighter.
Miami presented a huge challenge for Max way down in P9, but a strategic masterclass saw him back on the top step.
Starting out of position, we run different simulations to those that we've run earlier in the weekend. Mainly, the biggest difference is often the start tyre, because you want to give yourself a differentiating factor against those around you that will allow you to catch up with the leaders and then hopefully pass them as well.
I think the biggest surprise was just how quickly he got there. He drove with such maturity in the early laps, and then his pace was phenomenal.
It was actually a very close call between whether we started on the hard or medium. So also just discussions with the driver, what they'd prefer in those situations, and the race engineer.
Yeah, good drive today, Max.
I call that simply lovely.
We went basically the opposite strategy, and it's a better opportunity to pass. They trusted us, and it worked out beautifully.
What makes a driver rise above the rest? In Monaco, Max's final qualifying lap answered that question, redefining what the limits are in that final sector.
To be honest, the lap didn't start great. The tires were too cold because we had a really slow end of the out lap. So it didn't feel fantastic up until basically when I came back into the port. And there I knew that, okay, I was improving a little bit, but I needed more. So in that last sector, I was like, well, it's either going to end up in the wall or hopefully a good lap.
What a last sector, unbelievable. Well done, mate.
We needed to pull that one out the bag.
I think he kissed every single barrier around the Rascasse and onto the start-finish line. An incredible lap from him that earned him the pole, and then he was able to use that and convert that in the Grand Prix.
Canada saw the team achieve 100 race wins, a 14-year journey kick-started by our old friend Seb.
100 race wins, what an amazing achievement. I remember the very first one in China. I believe I cut my thumb lifting the trophy.
Well, it's a big milestone. I mean, 100 victories is an incredible achievement. I mean, there's only very few teams that have achieved that in the history of the sport.
It's just a spirit in this team that's quite extraordinary. I think sometimes it gets us in a bit of trouble, but for the most part, I think it's what separates us from other teams.
No one in the team back in the day thought that that was even possible.
100 wins within 19 seasons is a great, great achievement by the whole company.
It means a lot, being part of the history of the team. In such a short period of time, Red Bull Racing has done incredible to get into amongst the best teams in the history of the sport.
To be here now it's really incredible, and everyone can be very proud of that.
You've got to shoot for the stars, I always think. So, you've got to look at the next 100. Where are they going to come from? There's some exciting chapters coming up for us.
3 races later, and a record set back in the 1980s was smashed. 12 consecutive race wins and the fastest pit stop too. What teamwork?
To have won 12 in succession, to have won 19 out of the last 20 races against the kind of opponents that we have.
What an unbelievable rocket ship that was today. That was so enjoyable to drive. Unbelievable. Well done, guys. 12 in a row. Unbelievable. I think everyone can be really proud.
Again, an unbelievable achievement. This is, I think, extremely hard to achieve.
There's a lot of enjoyment, but there is also a lot of commitment from everyone out there.
For us to do it, I think it's a big shout out to everyone involved in the team to make this happen.
The pit crew have been outstanding once again so far this year, and again it's leaving no stone unturned, so it's all about the rehearsal, about incremental gains.
I think it was our 4th pit stop that day. I think it went really well. But what I was really pleased with is that we proved that we can get under 2 seconds with these big 18-inch wheels, and that for the team is a great big boost.
I mean, Hungary, I think it's just one of those things where everything comes together. We've had it this year where we could have done a stop like that, but then might be a slight, maybe a slight error on one of the corners. Just on that day, everything came right. All the guys, performed at their highest level, and that's what we got the 1.98 second pit stop from.
It just makes you realize how much the team is working and what level we are operating at.
I still think there's a bit more time in our pit stops, but than I always would.
Hopefully, of course, it also doesn't stop here.
How could the rest of the year top that? Well, history's there to be written.